Hello, everybody. So, my name is Anna. My last name is Booz. And this is my road to financial freedom. So, I've been thinking about it for years. I have a few streams of income going, and I'm trying to get to where my income is passive so that I can retire and enjoy the rest of my life with minimal work hours. Um, of course, I'm over 50, and so most of my antics will be geared towards doing this in the shortest amount of time possible, which will allow me to enjoy, my life rather than working until I'm 67, and in which case I'd probably still have to work because retirement for me is a joke, right? So I've got to do this on my own. No retirement plan is going to do this for me. And so, with that being said, this is going to help those that follow me, and we can experience this adventure together. Whether you're 50, and if you're in your 20s or 30s, then even more satisfying for you because you have more time to invest in all of this. Okay, so first I'm going to start off by saying I just really am getting into real estate. So I've joined a wonderful, wonderful network. And if real estate is the direction that you're trying to go, I would suggest that you find a network and or coach to help you with this journey. There is a plethora of information to study and learn to do this correctly in the best way. So a coach is definitely the way to go, and you definitely need to join a network of investors so that you can have a network of buyers and a network of sellers and the things that you're going to need to make this work for you. Okay, so with that being said, I have my personal self joined a network of real estate investors, and I have learned like just an abundance of information from them. Okay, my next goal is to actually reach out to a coach, and I'm just kind of trying to find the one that I feel is going to be right for me. But in the meantime, I'm on this journey, right? So I've begun this journey pretty much on my own, and I have had a few successes and I've had a few failures, or not failures, but it didn't pan out to end up doing what I wanted it to do. So, with all that being said, I'm going to give you a brief snippet into what I've done thus far. And then as I move forward, I will include you all in the things that I'm doing. And you'll get to see in real time what exactly happens and how those things pan out for me, which will help you know if that's something that you actually want to try to do or not do. Okay. So, taking you to the beginning, when I first started this adventure. So let me tell you, I had pretty much zero money. So I joined this network, and I overextended myself in order to join and get the training, to improve my knowledge, investing in myself. So, of course, my family and friends, I'm sure, were looking at me like I was crazy because I charged up my credit card. I put the rest on a payment plan, and I started paying, this large amount down. It ended up costing me for a 6 month period. I paid like $2,000 down, and I paid right at $1,000 a month for 6 months. And now I'm 6 months into this, and in addition to that, to I actually missed a promotion that they were running at the time, and they went ahead and allowed me to extend my time with the network by 6 more months with an additional $2,000. So I did do that. Okay, so I have this large network of lenders and buyers and wholesalers and the whole nine. So really, I have what I need to succeed in this. So now the rest is basically trial and error. So the first thing that I did after securing that education is I went out and went to work. Okay, so my thought process was that I had zero money, to invest, and so I was going to need to wholesale in order to make this work, to get some capital. And in the meantime, to make that happen, I needed more money because I had to advertise and things of that nature and set up my business. So I've set up, 2 LLCs. I have an LLC that is a holding company, and then I also have an LLC for my state, which is I'm in Texas. So I needed to do that. I went and set up my bank account, my business bank account. I set up savings and a checking for my business. Still minimal money to put into that account, but I'm working on that actively. I also, during this process, because I was really overextending myself, my credit dropped some because of utilization, etc. So I'm going to tell you where I started at. So I was around the 700 mark on my personal credit when I began this journey. And immediately, due to me overextending myself and paying for everything and putting stuff on credit cards so that I could pay for everything, my utilization went up, and therefore my credit score went down. So now, having completed all that, and I bought the bandit signs, and that's where I started with my advertising. As I went out and I put these bandit signs out, and then I secured a platform, a real estate platform that could help me search for properties and help me comp these properties and things of that nature. Well, in that platform, they actually allow me to do direct mailers. So I have been sending out postcards, for a minimal fee. There's fees involved, but it's minimal. So what I started out with is I would send these out 3 times every 2 weeks to the same address. That way the people were getting touched at least 3 times. And I've had success with that. I've had calls to offer me properties because of that. But really, by far, my bandit signs have gotten me the most. I get several calls for bandit signs. So I'm going to go ahead and take you through my day one to now with my bandit signs. So I did get a call like immediately, maybe within a week of putting up my bandit signs. And my first call was on a property that was in a pretty rural area. And it was my first, so I was excited. I went there, I spoke with the people, and they were wanting to move into a new house. They had found one. They needed this money to go ahead and close on the property that they were buying. So I went ahead. They signed, my contract. They authorized the contract, and I began my journey. So, of course, I offered them the golden rule. The golden formula is 70% of the ARV minus the repairs. And everything was agreed upon, and I went to work. So I get the contract signed, and still not positive if I did this too quickly or not. But I gave them an option fee, so I'd have an out if I needed it. I also sent everything, my contract, etc., over to a title company. and I put down $100 in earnest money. Okay. Well, I immediately went to work. Now, they were living in the property at the time, so I wasn't going to be able to do any repairs until we closed and they actually moved out. Well, about a week in, I started finding out by me posting this deal in my network. I had some good feedback, I had some bad feedback, but the biggest feedback that I got, or what I took to heart the most, was that this just so happened to be a modular type home. So in that neighborhood, there really wasn't, you know, it was very rural, like I said. Some houses were modular, some were regular, constructed houses. And so I immediately got filled with fear because they had like 2 weeks to close with me to be able to close on their house. And to make a long story short, I'm in this for win-win situations. I did not want to prevent them from getting the new home. And so after about that first week of me preparing to do what I needed to do and speaking to a couple of end buyers, someone offered them cash money for the house right then, somebody that they actually knew. And so I didn't want to prevent that from happening, and I probably made a mistake, but I went ahead and terminated the contract so that they could get that money and move into their home. So that was my first experience. And then I had a second experience. I had an older gentleman that called me because of one of my direct mailers. And he had 2 properties. He wanted to continue to live in one and he wanted to sell the other. So, to make a long story short on that, I did the comps on that property, and I actually made sense of giving him what he actually wanted for the property. So he signed the contract, and away I go again. So he was an older gentleman. He didn't get around well. So he gave me his keys. I went and made some keys to the property so I'd be able to get in and out, to get contractors in and out. It did need some repairs, but they were minimal. And so I got right on that. I ran and made the keys. I probably spent about $20. I gave him his option fee. And this time I did not send the earnest money in right away because I had given myself 15 days to do that. And so this time I exercised that option to not do it. To make a long story short, I went over there, I put some signs on the house, and I'm ready to rock and roll, right? I really hadn't decided if this was a house that I was going to buy and hold or if I was going to wholesale it. I really hadn't made up my mind yet on what I was going to do. I kind of was going to see how it played out. Okay, so to make a long story short, the next day I got a call from his daughter, who was his grown daughter, and she was pretty upset that he had signed the contract. And then they started talking about she had power of attorney over him, and basically he couldn't make that decision on his own. So once again, I terminated the contract. That just sounded like way too much drama for me. And I actually, in the meantime, because I had that fast in one day, I had posted it with my network and the different real estate networks that I have local. And I actually had found a buyer. So he would have gotten his asking price and I would have made an incredible profit. But we can't cry over spilt milk, right? So those were my first 2 things that I did. And my first 2, I'm going to say failure, but it wasn't a complete failure because it was a great learning experience and I learned so much from that. So now moving on to now. Right now, I have 2 properties that they're actually in probate right now, and a referral from a friend had a lady come to me um, that has moved out of our area, but her parents, both father and mother, had a home, and both of them have now passed on. And I'm in the process of waiting. I've done the comps. I've went in and reviewed the repairs that are needed, and right now they are waiting for probate to give them the ability to actually sell. So I'm in the process of waiting on those, and I will keep you updated as that transpires and what things that I do or don't do to make those work for me. Okay, and so most recently, I just went and looked at another property that's in probate, and it will move much faster. There's only one heir, and that is the gentleman that I'm dealing with. He doesn't live in the area either. He lives a couple of hours away, tired of paying someone to cut the grass and paying the taxes, this, that, and the third. The home needs some repairs. So I'm trying to create a win-win situation for me and him. And we have talked about some creative financing so that I'll be able to give him more than I would be able to give him if I were going to pay cash and maybe wholesale this property. So this one definitely is one that I'm thinking about buying and holding. So I'll let y'all know how that turns out, and the different offers that I offer him will be coming up in my next video. I'm going to make him an offer this weekend, and so then I'll be able to let you know the different offers that I made and what was finally accepted. And so anyway, I'm so happy that you decided to come on this journey with me. I hope that my experience helps you find your way to financial freedom, and I definitely hope it finds me the way to my financial freedom. All right. So I will be talking to you soon. If you can, hit the subscribe button, like it, repost. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.